So here we are, ready, willing, and able.
Yes, that's
And that's
us.
it. Straight in.
Straight in. We're not really straight in because we've been flowing.
Yes, we've been working on our top secret project,
Yes,
which I'm very
exciting.
excited about, which we will reveal soon. That's what
In our
will reveal. Try saying that 5 times in a row. Will
will
reveal.
reveal. Oh, that's
It's hard,
funny.
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
we're weird,
I
but
just
we're
have to
cool.
point out that it wasn't me having an aneurysm live on the podcast.
All right, we've been flowing, we've been on, and we actually cut into our pod time. So today's going to be like a mini pod. So stay tuned, stay on, because you're not going to have to listen to us for a full hour today. We're going to be short and sweet and dropping some
Heat. Oh, there you go. It rhymes.
short, sweet, and dropping some heat. Okay. And you gave a little hint to everyone what this is going to be, what we're going to be
Yeah,
talking about.
I wanted to dive into the idea of being ready, willing, and able to enact change in your life, whatever area of your life that is. And we can even talk about it from a corporate perspective too, like as someone who's trying to make a change in a business or whatever. Because I think been working with clients for 20 years now, and you can people set themselves up for failure because they try to make a change before they're ready, before they're actually willing to do it, and then before they're even able. And sometimes it's all three. Sometimes it's one of those three. And you hear it a lot with people who struggle with addictions. Like you have to hit rock bottom, they say, until you're ready to make that change. And that's it's really the same idea, right? Like if you're not in a place where uh, timing's not going to work for you. You're not willing to actually commit to doing it. And there goes our commitivation again. And then being able to do it. Are you in a position where you can make this change?
Yeah.
And oftentimes people try and make the change and then they fail because none of these things were put in place. And that is really the benefit of having a good coach, because your coach will coach you through those things. But I've seen it with nutrition, with fitness. People just are not really willing, able to change their lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly what you just said. First, it's the awareness. Like I know that something needs to shift. And you might not even know how to do it, but it starts with like something's not working. Something needs to change. Um and so that's the kind of the ready part, just getting your brain set up for that. And then the willing, like are you willing to go through whatever perceived or real discomforts
Yeah,
may come from this change. So that's that comfort zone that we all know is not comfortable. It's just the devil we know versus the devil we don't know. We already
yeah,
know how to manage and deal and survive what's happening in our current world. And even though we might not want it, the unknown is scarier. So
yeah,
we know something needs to change, but then people get stuck because they're not really willing to go through the discomfort or the perceived discomfort. And then the able, there's kind of two parts to that. Do I have what I need right now? Do I have the resources? Do I have do I know what mindset I need to be in? Do I have the people around me? And like you said, it's a great place for a coach to come in. I don't love the word accountability partner. Um, and we've talked about this before, but
yeah. You should be
something
accountable to
like,
yourself. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, like, I'm not going to hold you accountable, but I'll hold you capable
yeah,
to the things because I do believe in you. So, to get someone that believes in you, even if you're not believing in yourself, right? You want to make a change. You're willing to go through what it takes to get there. But the truth is that change is really goes back to your identity. And if you
yeah,
believe you're a person that can do it, you might need to lean on a coach or a community or someone around you that does believe in you. So the able part is being real with yourself about what resources you have and what you still might need to get or who you might need to get around in order to really make this change happen.
yeah,
So, do I have what I need or am I willing to build it or go get it?
yeah.
Is a great question. And my other favorite question around this is, not only what do you need to change, or what have you been wanting to change where maybe you didn't have all three of these in place, but where in your life are you waiting for someone else to change?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And well, there's a whole thing around that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't try and change anybody
Mm-hmm.
if they are who they are, and if you're waiting for them to change, it's probably not going to happen on your timeline. So
Right.
there's a whole relationship episode on that we could dive into.
Right. Or
But
I'll be
I
happy when this person
yeah,
changes that, right? If you're making your change contingent upon their change, you've given up
yeah,
all of your power. Like there's no radical ownership in that.
no, exactly. And I can speak from personal experience, right? I was just telling you this morning. This is based on the results I got from my labs, where I knew I was over consuming coffee. I knew that I was drinking too frequently. I was never really a binge drinker, but I enjoyed a couple drinks at the end of the day to chill. Didn't really feel any side effects or anything, and just didn't. That made me unwilling to make the changes.
Mm,
I was definitely able to. Did dry January. I've got very strong willpower. I'm very disciplined, but I
mm,
just wasn't willing.
right.
And those results are really what made me say, okay, now I'm willing to make those changes, and I'm ready because time is short. I want to be healthy, and I don't want this kind of I don't want that volcano to erupt at
Yeah.
some point. So I can speak from personal experience of just not being, not having that willingness to. And I feel like there's the willingness is a big, big, big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and probably the biggest roadblock for a lot of people. I think people are very able.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some situational reasoning that you're not able to do something, but I think it's that willingness a lot of the time, and I want to dive into that in a little bit. But being ready is also a big thing too.
Yeah.
You can't make a sweeping change in your life. It'd be one thing to be like, especially for coffee. I mean, alcohol is a different story because that's easy to give up. But like coffee is a big part of my life. Like I drink
Yeah.
it. I was drinking 4 to 6 cups a day,
Yeah.
and now I'm down to two. And it's just I wasn't. I couldn't have gone cold turkey. That's for damn
Right.
sure.
Well, it's so funny because you're like, well, alcohol is easy to give up, and then there's probably people listening to this where like alcohol would be the hard thing to give up, where coffee is the easier thing to give up. It's
Yeah,
it's a personal journey. You said something very, very key there. And I want to point it out because it's a very slight shift in words. So you said, you got a reality check, right?
yeah,
You're going along, you got a reality check. It it flew against something you just said. You said, I want to be healthy. Well, what would be the identity statement of I
right,
want to be healthy? I am healthy.
yeah,
So that I want to be healthy to I am healthy. When you have that identity, okay, I found out some new information. This coffee is not doing me favors at the level I'm consuming it at. So since I am healthy, identity statement, you're making a shift. It's much easier to make the change. Not that
yeah,
it's easy, but it's that's what's in alignment with you. So if you shift from I want to be healthy to I
yeah,
am healthy, then it's like, okay, new information, no brainer. Now I've got to do things that support
yeah. And
that.
I do wanna just clarify when I'm saying it's easy to give up alcohol
Mm.
for me. I
Yes.
don't want to. I know it's an individual thing, like you said. I don't want to dismiss
Mm.
anybody's challenges with doing it because
Yeah.
it can be a challenge. And it's like Joe Rogan said it a little while back. He's given up drinking. And to that I am healthy point, he was like,
Yeah.
I go to such extremes and extents to take care of my health, and then I poison myself every few nights. Like, what am
Yeah.
I doing? Why am I doing that?
Yes.
Um, but again, in my case, it was like I wasn't feeling any ill effects of it.
Hmm.
Yes, I feel a bit different in the mornings before and after, but yeah, it really took being willing to do it,
Yeah.
and everybody has their own reasoning for that willingness. But
Yeah.
if I know people who try to give things up, and alcohol in particular, and it's because they're not truly willing yet, because they haven't had that gut punch, they haven't had that reality check.
Right.
So I think being, radically honest with yourself
Mm.
about where you are in life, who do you want to be, and that's where the I am statement is really big there. And I hadn't even put those two things together until you said it. But
Mhm.
If you create that I am statement, it becomes a lot easier for you to have the willingness and being ready to make those changes.
Yeah. And the fact that you already did something like a dry January, where this is going to lead into what I believe and many believe, and I believe you believe it as well. All change, whether it's change within yourself, change within your family, with your children, with your partner, or change on a team that you run, or if you're a CEO and you're making a big change for the company, it all comes down, the success of it all comes down to one thing
Yeah.
and one word. And that word is trust.
Were you waiting for me to answer that?
I was kind of going to see if you jumped in
Because
there,
I was
but
like, I have no idea what word you're talking about. I'm just going to nod when you say it.
it comes down to trust in yourself. It comes down to trust in the leader. It comes down
Yeah.
to, does your child trust you? Does your partner trust you? Does your team trust you? Do your people trust you as a leader? But before we even go to all of that, let's rewind back to you personally. If you don't trust yourself, it's going to be very, very hard to make meaningful change that actually sticks. And the only way that you can build trust in yourself and belief in yourself and confidence in yourself is to do hard things. You are really great at doing hard things. So when it comes to you getting your results, and it was like, okay, I need to make some adjustments and maybe cut some things out completely, your subconscious and your brain goes, yeah, I did dry January. It was not a problem. I know I can do this. So
Yeah.
you have evidence of where you've done hard things in the past. And most of us have evidence of where we've done hard things in the past. We just don't recognize it.
Yeah.
So when we feel unable or afraid of being able to accomplish something, just look at where you've already proven that to yourself in the past that you're capable of doing this. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's probably times where you've failed. Like, don't focus on those times. Focus on the times where you've succeeded. And maybe even if you wanted to do something for a month, and you failed, you didn't do the month, but if you did it for a week, well, there's a win there. So you know you can try this for a week because you've done it before.
Yeah.
So without trust, change is impossible. It's
Yeah.
And we mentioned rock bottom, and I don't mean to flip flop all over the place, but where I have seen people like, oh man, they're rock bottom. They were nowhere near rock bottom. And that's like so scary from the outside
Yeah.
because people think, okay, something bad has to happen. And we want to encourage people not to wait for that true rock bottom, because true rock bottom is that is a place that most people can't even really fathom what it feels like.
Yeah. And I think you actually take away your ability to actually make the change, right? Like you're
Yeah.
not able to
Yeah.
affect
We're
change
in
when you're,
suffering at rock
yeah.
bottom. We want to stay out of suffering, and we want to grow through struggle. Struggle's the gift.
Yeah.
The suffering part, we need others to come in and help save us.
Yeah.
The struggle part, if we can get like, this is tough, this is hard, you feel like there's some suffering, but you still have a lot of power there. That's where you just get people to come alongside you, and you're like, this is it. Like, I've got to break through. I
Yeah.
have to do this. Um,
Yeah. I think from a leader's perspective, when you're trying to make or help other people affect change, if you're running a company or running a team and you need to make changes in things,
mhm,
or if you're a coach and you're trying to help people make changes in their lives, it can become very frustrating for you if you're doing everything you think you can to help people and they're just not changing.
mm,
um but you have to realize and identify where along that spectrum are they, like, are they ready, are they willing, are they able, because you could keep banging the same tune for years and they're not going
mhm,
to make the changes you need. And that's something I learned a few years back. I really had that kind of acceptance, like, okay, as much as I know I can help these people,
mm,
if they're, I'll just do the best that I can with where they're at. I'll meet them where they are. But if
mhm,
they're not ready to do those things, and I've got a lot of people who their sleep is absolutely awful and they're just not willing to change it.
yeah,
They think it's okay, it's normal to be staying up till 2 in the morning and working themselves into the ground.
because that's their
Um,
identity.
yeah,
How many times? Oh, I'm
yeah,
a night owl. I do my best work at night.
yeah,
Um, we have to be very careful when we're not talking about change for us. So if you're coming from a coaching perspective or even a leadership perspective, there's certain change that needs to happen in companies, and it needs to happen for productivity and to create, these high performance cultures. There's change that needs to happen. But when you're talking about personal change, I might think you should do something, but if I hand it to you, it's never you never whoever authored it owns it. So if I authored it, it's
Hmm.
my idea, I own it. It's never was never part of you. You might go, "Oh, I should do this." Right? And we talk a lot about this, like we're handed these things that we should be, we should change, we should do, but if it's not within that person, and more so like when you're looking at your children or your spouse or significant other, you might think that they should change in some way, but if they're not there, you will
Yeah.
just bang your head against the wall and become crazy frustrated. So you really have to know how to ask powerful questions and help guide people through to what they want to shift in their life, and you have to help them stay out of overwhelm and really keep it like small.
Yeah.
And not trying to when someone oh God. I was talking with one of Ben's kids, and he was talking. I said, what do you want to accomplish in this next year of your life? What's one thing? And one of the things was getting better grades. And it was like moving from like B minuses and B's and A's to I said, well, what does better mean, right? And he's like, well, I'd like to get nothing lower than an 85. And I'm like, okay, awesome. And he was energized about that. And we talked about, what are some things you could do to make sure that you are increasing your grades? And when I told his dad, he's like, he's capable of so much more. He should be getting 90s, 90s or higher. And like I totally get that. And especially when you see that someone is so capable and it's frustrating, but I'm like, if at that moment you tell your child, tell me what you want, tell me what you want to do, and they say, I want to do this. And if you go, yeah, that's okay, but this would be better, you've instantly killed any flame that was growing
Right.
inside of them about this. And the truth is, if you nurture that 85, they'll probably end up getting to the 90. But the moment you take the power away from them and make it about your idea, you've lost.
Yeah.
So be careful about trying to effect change that is not owned by the other person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I
will
mean, I,
lead to
I have
frustration.
these conversations all the time with clients and friends, just of, they'll come oh, I tried this to lose weight and now I'm going to try this instead. And, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know that that's not going to do anything because I know counting calories it's not a good way of losing weight.
Yeah.
There's, one thing there, right? But unless I feel like they're ready to hear what they need to do, then I just don't do it anymore. Whereas I used to feel like I had to say, no, this is the way you should be doing it. Now I'm just like, okay, look, good luck, like go for it.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting energy on trying to affect that change because
Yeah.
they're not in a place to do it.
Well, you can put the energy into being alongside that person as they're failing forward.
Yeah.
Um And I think it's okay to say, like, hey, I have some ideas, but I want to go with what you feel like you need to do right now.
Yeah.
And you can ask me questions, but ultimately, I want you to decide what you're committed to. And that's where kind of that possibilities thinking comes in.
Yeah.
Like, if you can help get someone from a stuck state to a possibilities thinking state, that's a very powerful state for someone to get in. And then once you're in there and they come up with 10 things, okay, out of those 10 things, what ones would you be willing to do? I'd be
Yeah.
willing to do this, this, and this. Okay, out of this, this, and this, what one will you do? Okay, I will do this. And then keep it, okay, back to the SMART goal. A very time bound, specific. What is it you're going to do? How long are you going to do it for? Let's try this experiment. And we're kind of going from change to goal setting, but it all does
Well, can you
come.
make change without setting goals? Like you kind of need to.
Well, how do you know? How do you know if you've made change? Because change is like,
Yeah.
I am here and I want to be here. So there's a natural goal there. There's a
Yeah.
gap in between where you are and where you want to be, and then it's your job, and then whoever you have around you, to help you figure out what happens in that gap.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one of the reasons I wanted to just, riff on this is just I see people get stuck all the time because and it kind of goes along with goal setting, right? Like
Mm.
they're not able to, you can't go from, losing, if you're losing weight, you can't go lose 20 pounds just and lose 20 pounds, right? You got to
Cut your
incrementally
leg
get
off.
there. You got to make small changes to get there. And you see it all the time. People
Yeah.
make, these big sweeping goals and, they don't think about how they're going to get there.
Yeah.
So you just don't because you're not able to because you don't have
Yeah.
the knowledge of how to get there. And I think the other thing I wanted to just touch on was just in terms of I think it's willingness. There is
Mm.
a sense of being ready, but I think there's a willingness or a lack of willingness to reflect on why am I not
Mm.
seeing things that way, or
Mhm.
so that I can go down that path and make the change.
Mhm.
I hear a lot of pushback. Obviously, a lot of the stuff I talk about in the health space is it goes against conventional, the Western medicine, and oftentimes people say they don't agree with me. When I say statins are bad for you, cholesterol's good. You don't worry
Mhm.
about your cholesterol,
Yep.
and there's a pushback. I don't agree with that, but am I? Well, why don't you agree?
Mhm.
Like what is it that you don't agree with? Oftentimes it's just because you've been told something,
Right.
you
Like
don't actually have
crunches.
the understanding of it. Yes, exactly, like crunches, exactly why crunches are bad for you. And I think I'm able to make changes in my life very quickly because I'm very open to saying, all right, I didn't know that, now
Yeah.
I do. I'm
Yeah.
willing to say, that's new information, that's better than the information I had, I should make that change.
Yeah. We
And
talk
I
about
think
this all
there's
the time.
yeah,
And that's that mind flexibility. Like we have to get out of this rigidness that
yeah,
we've come into. And we might be very flow and flexible in parts of our life, but very rigid in others. And I'm not saying don't have standards and convictions, but the moment you shut down to hearing anything else, like you lose.
yeah,
So new information comes in, then you get to make new decisions. You get to reprioritize or not. It's your choice. And some people are just naturally more risk adverse, which makes them
yeah,
more change adverse. We don't have time to go into it now, but we talk a lot in the corporate space about the what, how, why people, right? They need
yeah,
to know. Some people just need to know one thing. Okay, what's changing? Okay, cool, rock and roll. Other people need to know like what's changing and why is it changing. A lot of people like to know, why is this important? Why are we making a change? And then there's other people that want to know how. Okay, what's changing? Why is it changing? And how is it going to change? What needs to be done? And then there's people that need all three. So if you're only saying, "Hey, there's a change, do it," a lot of people, if they, especially if they don't trust you, they're like, well, why? Don't understand
yeah,
why we need to do this. And then we consider those people kind of, PETAs, because they need to know all of this information. But that is how people are able to do things successfully. They need information. And something that I want to make sure we talk about is the fear of actually success. So sometimes it's not even a unwillingness or an inability. It's actually the fear that, what if I succeed? What does that
yeah,
mean for me? If I'm actually living my identity, does that mean I can never eat potato chips again? um, or like, because you're becoming a person that you don't necessarily believe that you are yet, and that can be imposter syndrome and a million other things. But a lot of people actually is fear of success. What if I get a yes on the other line? What if I actually accomplish this? Like, what does this mean?
yeah. No, that's a big
What
one.
will
It's
that
very paralyzing.
Yeah.
I definitely get stuck sometimes with that. It's like, well, just
Mhm.
worry about that when you get there.
Right.
Don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
and
just
I
a
think,
journey.
and I think the other thing is, you get a resistance to change from leaders sometimes when you
Mhm.
have people on the team that will come to you and say, look, what we're doing just doesn't feel like is working. Like,
Mhm.
can we talk about ways of changing? And you get people who get very stuck in
Mm.
so it's not just things that they've heard from doctors or things that they've heard about fitness from, the Instagram trainers or whatever.
Mm.
There's things in the corporate space, right? Like where people, this is how you do marketing. This is
Yeah.
how, you do leadership.
Yeah.
And there's this unwillingness to admit that you were wrong.
Yeah.
because it almost feels like you fail, but it's actually no, like this is better information or a better way of doing it for this situation.
And that's exactly it. Like we live in a society where someone has to take blame, where someone has to be wrong in order for someone else to be right. When the truth is, like, you weren't wrong. You were basing your decisions based off of the information that you had.
Yeah,
And if you never allow new information in, then you'll never be wrong, right? But that's not how innovation happens, and that's not how change happens. So you don't have to be wrong to make a different decision. You just have to say, okay, I made the right decision for me, for us, for the company based off of what I've had. But since I am open to new information, here's new information. This means a different decision. Your spouse, your children, they just want to feel heard. They want to feel seen, and they want to feel as prepared as possible,
yeah,
when things like this are happening. So, Ben said to me, if you told Alexander to run into this house and it was on fire, he would do it. And I was like, yes, because he trusts me. He trusts that I would never put him in harm's way, because my entire world is thinking about, what am I asking my child to do? What positions am I putting him in? Am I preparing him for success? What are the dangers? And I'm okay for some dangers. Some things we have to learn as part of our
yeah,
growing process. And I don't mean a danger that would cause him harm. But you can't always know all the factors. And when you can have a relationship with your spouse, with your child, with your parent, with your leader, where you're like, goes back to the 10 commitments. This person is going to stand by me when all hell breaks loose. This person has a commitment to a good reputation. So I know I can, trust, their word is their bond. When you have all of those and a change comes up, people will follow you to the ends of the earth if they believe in your word and they trust you. And people that don't believe in themselves, even for their own change, as a coach, come alongside them. If they trust you as their coach and you're supporting them and encouraging where their nervous system is going into fight or flight, right?
yeah.
Not stillness. Freezing is different than stillness. You can help work them through that. It's such a bigger, we have 2 minutes. I
Yeah, I
love this
think
though.
let's put a bow on it. Just I think
Yeah.
if you're considering making a change in your life,
Mhm.
whether that be work, in your relationship, or at home, or whatever, or you're trying to influence change at work, at home, or whatever in a relationship, really ask yourself: Am I ready? Am I willing? Am I willing to be wrong, and
Mhm.
or admit that I was wrong in the past? Because I think that's a really big thing. When I was trying to get to is people are really scared to admit they're wrong, and then they dig their heels in and go even further right or
Yep.
left, and it just gets even worse.
Yep.
And then, are you able? Are you in a position to really actually make those changes?
Yep.
And
And
don't beat yourself up if you're not.
so we have our cool worksheet. Everything we've been doing is now we're getting prompts around it, because we've had some of our listeners go, I love this, but I don't know how to apply it.
Yeah,
Right. So it's great if we can get you thinking, but we want you to do more than just thinking and having knowledge. We want you to be able to embody it, and you embody it through taking action. So we will set up, follow up either of us or Alpha Flow podcast on Instagram, and we'll set up a prompt where you can get our reflection worksheet on today's podcast.
yeah.
Cool.
But you should probably follow Tara, because if it's left to me, you ain't getting shit.
The Tara Stone, because Tara Stone was taken, and Paolo Bauer, and Alpha Flow podcast. And we're all over the place. Just look us up, find us, let us know what you need. We're here to support you. Thank you for listening. We love you. Until next time, bye for now.